Hey guys, welcome to the bonus episode of the Psy Squad podcast. So I'm just going to be talking here about Wrestlemania, what I thought of it, and where I see the WWE going forward as we continue this weird journey into 2020. So we'll just go match by match as they happened at WrestleMania, and I'll just give you my thoughts on them. So Cesaro beating Drew Gulak in the pre-show. I figured that was going to happen. It was a good match overall. And it was a good way to kick off night one of WrestleMania. Elias defeating King Corbin. I'm surprised that Elias actually won this match because Corbin got the big victory last year against Kurt Angle, and he's been winning a lot of these matches, so I'm just surprised he lost this one. All props to Elias, though. It would have been really cool to have him have another Elias concert, or for them to use like visual effects or something during that. But I understand they can't. They were kind of limited there. Next up, we got the triple threat for the tag team championships. This ladder match, I think it was a unique way for them to get around the Miz not being able to compete by just having one-on-one. I do wonder why they chose the competitors they did. It was good. They were all veterans of the game. Great storytelling throughout the match. And then I really enjoyed the ending of the match, actually. Morrison being pushed off the ladder, but holding on to the championship while the other two held on to the brass ring. It was just kind of really cool to have a little question who won this match, you know? But I think John Morrison and the Miz going forward are going to continue be the champions. I'd like to see them face another tag team, though. Maybe throw a tag team from like NXT, or have them face Otis and Tucker or something like that. Just have actual tag teams be the champions. Of course, the New Day and the Usos are also champions, but they've been champions so many times. I think it's time to see a different matchup there. Next was Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross and the Kabuki Warriors. I was happy to see Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss get the win here. I kind of expected them to get the win, as you listen to our bonus episode on what I predicted for WrestleMania. But overall, it was just a fun match to watch. Nikki Cross is always fun, and because she's kind of crazy and everything. So kudos for them for winning the championship. I just hope now that they face tag teams, I would like to see the Iconics come back. Fire and Desire's kind of gone, so who do you have to replace them? And all that kind of stuff kind of leads up to the smoke. But if they do have a tag team to actually face the Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, it would be really cool for them to have a rivalry, because I think this tag team championship kind of cemented them as a tag team. Alexa Bliss becoming and Nikki Cross becoming 2 times champions also makes it really cool. Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan. It was a really good technical match. I really enjoyed watching it. All the shenanigans that went on, I wasn't surprised. Daniel Bryan looked like he had a mean streak going, and it was really cool to see. Although he did lose, it's cool to see Sami Zayn get that WrestleMania moment and be champion still. Of course, because it took him so long to get to championship. I kind of see this rivalry kind of keeping on going. And just building and building up to another match. But I think it's smart to have the Intercontinental Champion on Sami Zayn, because Daniel Bryan is kind of above championships. He doesn't necessarily need the championship because of his popularity. Then we had Kevin Owens versus the Architect Seth Rollins in a no disqualification match. This match was really, really fun to see. They had Owens win by disqualification in the beginning, which was kind of weird. But the big moment at the end of Kevin Owens just beating the crap out of Seth Rollins and jumping off the big WrestleMania sign was really, really cool to see. Next we have Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler. This match was a little quicker than I thought it'd be. I honestly thought it'd be a little longer, and I thought Shayna Baszler would get a little more offense in the match. And I thought the ending was kind of questionable, kind of like the Ronda Rousey win last year. But I'm curious to see where this goes. Becky Lynch continue and go face somebody else? Does Shayna try to go back and face Becky again? Does Ronda Rousey come into the mix somehow? I know Nia Jax just came back to Raw. Could Nia Jax face Becky or Shayna? There's a lot to go on and a lot of questions there that haven't necessarily been answered, and so I'm excited to see what happens there. The next match here is Goldberg versus Braun Strowman. I just thought that was quick. I thought it was what it was going to be. Honestly, I was a little surprised to see Braun Strowman win it. It would have been a much bigger moment if he would have won it with fans there, but I understand why they couldn't have fans there. WWE kind of went with the go-lucky, happy outcomes for everything, which is cool to see during this time, kind of escape. Braun going through all the spears and then taking Goldberg around multiple times for Goldberg to lose was a good way to do it, because then it doesn't look like Goldberg just gave up, and it looks like it just kind of built Braun Strowman as being the monster that he is. And then the last match of night one was probably my favorite match of night one, and that wasn't really even necessarily a match, the Boneyard match. The Undertaker and AJ Styles. I loved the movie feel it had to it. It was almost like you were watching an action movie. I was really, really, really impressed by how it went. It kind of reminded me of a Matt Hardy compound type of match being out there. It was cool to see AJ kind of mocking the badass Undertaker. In the beginning, the Undertaker comes in on a motorcycle, goes back and forth. The Undertaker almost got buried alive, but then the Undertaker appeared behind AJ, and the Undertaker just destroyed. Gallows and Anderson got through off the roof. The best part of this match, though, was that at the end, Undertaker unveiled AJ Styles' tombstone, and when he put his hand up, it lit up with the Undertaker's logo and fire, and it was just really, really exciting to see. So I hope they do more matches like this. They definitely could pretty easily do matches like this with some of the older guys, or even they could keep the guys that they have. And I want this match to actually build with the Undertaker's last couple matches that he'll have here with his career winding down. I'd like to see a Sting match, just more mystical creatures. Sting, you could do, if Hulk Hogan wanted to still come back, a Hulk Hogan versus Undertaker match would be kind of cool. Have Hollywood Hogan versus the Dead Man. But they could really go anywhere with this match. I just hope that matches like this keep continuing even after we get out of this pandemic and crowds are able to see. To have one of these matches thrown in every once in a while would be really, really cool. I understand that it probably takes a lot to do, but I think the payoff is worth it, especially with you see how many fans love the match. If they wanted to just create like a series of these type of matches, I wouldn't necessarily even be mad at that because they're so cool to watch. Then moving on to night two. Night two started off with Natalya versus Liv Morgan. Kind of a weird way to start it, but I'm not mad at it. I enjoyed the match for what it was. Liv Morgan getting the victory over Natalya was really cool to see because I wasn't expecting that. I was kind of expecting Natalya to get the win and show Liv Morgan for the competitor that she is on her own without Sarah Logan and Ruby Riott was really cool. I've always been a Liv Morgan fan, and so just continue on that Liv Morgan train. Aleister Black and Bobby Lashley was kind of a match that wasn't necessarily built on a story or anything. It was kind of just a match for a match, and I thought it was more so just to build Aleister Black, as Bobby Lashley hasn't really done anything since the Rusev-Lana storyline. That then progressed on Monday Night Raw when Bobby Lashley said maybe it's time for him to get a new wife. I thought that was really cool to see how that moves on. And Lana had no idea what was going on there. Maybe that could bring back that story in a different way where it's entertaining, because don't get me wrong, while it was so ridiculous, it was really fun to watch, and I got a kick out of it. and I'm sure many other people did. And so ending it, I think, is the best way to that, with some huge divorce and everything. That would be really cool to see. But that also puts Aleister Black in another story, which is good for him. Just keep building and building him. I'd like to see him as a champion. That'd be cool to see, and so that's hopefully where they're going with that. Another match at WrestleMania was Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. And this match was exactly what I wanted it to be. Sonya Deville came down with Dolph Ziggler at the beginning. Otis and Dolph were going at it. A little cheating going on. Mandy Rose comes down, slaps Sonya Deville. Dolph gets beat, gets pinned, is caterpillared by Otis. And then Otis and Mandy have that WrestleMania moment that was really good to see. Otis finally getting the girl, getting his peach. I'm excited to see where this goes with Otis and Mandy, but not only just Otis and Mandy. I'd like to see Sonya Deville and Dolph Ziggler as a team, not necessarily like tag team in the ring, although that'd be cool. More of like Sonya Deville being Dolph's bodyguard would be really cool to see. Kind of protecting what's going on and just continuing the storyline of Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville, but not necessarily having the Otis versus Dolph Ziggler story going on because Otis did beat Dolph Ziggler. Next, we wanted the smoke with the Street Profits versus Austin Theory and Angel Garza. It was cool to see Austin Theory and Angel Garza get the match like this at WrestleMania, especially when Austin Theory was just a fill-in. It was still cool to see, and I think Austin Theory definitely has a good future in the WWE. I'm curious to see where he goes from this, if he stays on Raw or if he goes back to NXT. Either way, I'm okay with it because he's entertaining to watch, and he kind of got a WrestleMania. Even though he lost, he got a WrestleMania moment, and he just hasn't even been with the company that long. I think it was the right decision to keep the Street Profits as champion, have Bianca Belair come out against Zelina Vega. Really, really cool to see. Keep that trio on Raw. Seeing them on Raw again was also awesome because I like that they're a team because Bianca and Montez Ford are actually a real life couple, and it seems like it just all works well together. Zelina versus Bianca Belair is something I'm excited to see because you don't see Zelina in the ring as much, and so this is definitely a good storyline. Another exciting thing that happened, Ron Gronkowski was obviously the host. Tease and Mojo and Gronk the whole show, I guess, or the whole first night, and then for the second half, or the second night of the show, see Gronk make his Gronk ways and kind of, it would have been so much cooler if there was a crowd there. I think that's what most of these moments be a lot cooler to see a crowd, but Gronk winning the 24/7 championship is really cool to see because that means that he is better than anybody in the Patriots dynasty because he has a 24/7 championship. And do you know who hasn't won that? Bill Belichick or Tom Brady. Solidifying Gronk as the greatest tight end to ever play football, along with solidifying that Gronk could potentially have a good future in the WWE. I'd like to see Gronk actually have a match in the WWE. That would be fun to see. And with Pat McAfee training and showing off his skills in the WWE, doing swanton bombs and all that, a Gronk versus Pat McAfee match, I would pay to see that. That would be amazing. And so I hope that something like that is a possibility in the future. Then we had the Fatal 5-Way match, Bayley versus Sasha versus Naomi versus Tamina versus Lacey Evans, with Bayley getting the victory there. I was surprised that a turn didn't happen with Sasha Banks. I was kind of expecting that. And I was also a little upset that Tamina was the first one eliminated. It was kind of expected, but I was hoping they would give her more of a chance to let her move on to be like, they could have had Team Bad, Bayley have a moment in the ring, Team Bad have that moment. It would have been cool to see, but I understand that it's not necessarily the best thing. Continuing Bayley and Sasha is probably a good thing at this moment because they're two people who can be on SmackDown at the moment, and it just continues that storyline. They could have a match at SummerSlam or something like that, a big blow off. But it could be also interesting to see if Bayley versus Sasha as friends, what would happen there. If Bayley would get the win or if Sasha would get the win. And then if Sasha did get the win, if Bayley would be okay with it and vice versa. Because you have seen heel teases by Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. And right before WrestleMania, but that didn't necessarily happen. A couple other matches here. We got Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley. That was a really good match. Selling the knee injury was cool. I wasn't mad at Charlotte Flair getting the victory at all, actually, because the match was good, and seeing Charlotte on NXT is going to make such good show. It's going to add more viewers to the show because Charlotte is the champion, and so Charlotte being the big champion on NXT elevates that women's division even more, especially if they're losing people like Bianca Belair and Shayna Baszler and stuff anyways. That ladder match tonight is going to be really cool to see who faces Charlotte, because that's another whole set of matches that you never thought you'd see. You see like Charlotte versus Chelsea Green. You might have actually saw that I think around Christmas time, but Charlotte versus Io Shirai, Charlotte versus insert name here. It'd be Charlotte can have a good match with anyone, so I'd love to see what happens there. And having Charlotte have a run with the NXT Championship, it brings her away, so the focus isn't necessarily on Raw and SmackDown, isn't on the four horsewomen, Charlotte, Becky on Raw, and then Sasha and Bayley on SmackDown. Next, we'll go Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. It wasn't a bad match at all, and Drew McIntyre got the victory, which I was happy for. I'm curious to see what they do with Drew McIntyre next as champion and who his next competitor is, being that the wrestling is still without fans and all that crap. One thing that I was interested in seeing is that Big Show faced Drew McIntyre for the championship on Raw in a match that was what happened after WrestleMania, they said. So are they just going to have Drew beat big guys the whole time, or what's going to happen there? Moving on, here we have two more matches. We'll start with the Edge versus Randy Orton. Some people said that it was a long match. It was a little too long. I did not think that at all. I thought it was a good pace, showing Edge struggling throughout the whole match. Finally getting the victory was really cool. Hitting Randy Orton in the head at the end, kind of full circling that story. I also really liked that they went throughout the PC, through the gym, through the parking lot, through the backstage storage areas, and just kind of kept going and going and going, so there wasn't necessarily one spot in an empty ring with nobody to watch it. It kind of took the element of needing the fans away, because you could just watch it from home and be like, this is really cool to watch. But that huge ladder, it would have been cool to see somebody do something on that huge ladder by the snack table, but I understand that, that's probably not safe. And then it makes me wonder what's going to happen with Edge and Randy Orton going forward. Is Randy Orton taking a break after getting hurt? That'd be my assumption, but you never know. And then Edge, what's next for Edge? Is Edge going to have another match? Is Edge done for good? You just kind of never know. It'd be cool to see Edge versus Edge. Talked about Aleister Black a lot back on his podcast. And so it'd be cool to see him face somebody like Aleister Black or Tommaso Ciampa or somebody like that, with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa going on tonight. Edge having a match with either of those would be amazing to watch. And so hopefully he does something like that. As for Randy Orton, having Randy Orton off TV for a while wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. Well, he's really fun to watch in the ring, and he's such a great wrestler, probably top 5 at the moment, top 10 at the moment. For veterans, I do think that he could have a story. He could have a story with like Jeff Hardy or something. That'd be cool to see have something different go on. And then I saved the best for last, at least in my opinion. Bray Wyatt versus John Cena in a Firefly Funhouse match. What is a Firefly Funhouse match? I still don't quite understand or know what that is, but we kind of saw what happened there. John Cena come out. I really like the storytelling in that match. Huge storytelling. It pays off if you have been a fan since John Cena's beginning, because you kind of see him going through his failures, going through all his obstacles, having him part of the NWO. It was just, it was all good. I see Bray Wyatt get revenge. John Cena tried to beat up Bray Wyatt, but Bray Wyatt not beat there. And then The Fiend defeating John Cena. Really, really exciting to see. And I wouldn't mind seeing another Firefly Funhouse match either, with somebody who also defeated him. I don't necessarily know who you put it against, but if John Cena being one of the best, if you put it against one of the best, maybe Randy Orton or somebody like that, it'd be cool to see. But overall, I really liked how they formatted it differently. So again, you didn't need fans. And it was unique to see. I know some people didn't like it, but I think that's just because you weren't paying enough attention. It wasn't as smooth as they'd like it to be. But if you've watched the whole Bray Wyatt evolution and you've watched the whole John Cena evolution, it makes complete sense and it was really cool to watch. So overall, what would I rate this WrestleMania out of 10? I would probably rate it 8.5 or a 9, honestly. I think it was really good WrestleMania. If there would have been fans, I think it would have been a 9 to a 9.5. One of my favorite WrestleManias to watch, probably. But without the fans, the 4 top matches, in my opinion anyways, that I think of off the top of my head is Edge Orton, which I give a 5 out of 5. And then the 2 special matches, the Firefly Funhouse and the Boneyard match, both of those I give 5 out of 10s. And then the Brock Drew match, and then the rest of the matches kind of flew in there as well. Overall, there's a couple matches like the Aleister Black match and the Street Profits match, which wasn't necessarily as good as could have been. Would have been added with fans, which just makes it a little less of a show. For next year, with WWE going to Hollywood, it'd be cool to see them do like huge thing. They could do it from 2 locations. Stretching it out 2 nights, I think, was a smart idea, and I think with how successful it was, they were talking about how successful it was on social media and stuff. If they keep it as successful as it was and stretched out 2 nights, I definitely would not be opposed to that. That means you can have 8 or 9 matches each night, and fans necessarily wouldn't be sick of it. Well, that'd mean where would Takeover go? I think NXT Takeover could be kind of included in WrestleMania, and I wouldn't be mad at it. You kind of saw that with the Rhea Ripley match, but I think you could throw the 205 Cruiserweight Championship or the NXT Championship or the NXT Tag Team Championships. I think you could throw all 3 of those on the show, and then you could get rid of like matches that don't necessarily make sense. You could still put matches on the pre-show, or you could increase the card by a match. Like, it wouldn't hurt anybody to have an extra match. I know there would be some people probably complain, oh, it's too long. But, you really can't have too much wrestling. If you need to split it up, watch half of it now, half of it later. It's still exciting. Just don't watch for the spoilers. You know what I mean? But that's what I would do. Looking forward ahead, I did see rumors that WWE wanted to go live again, which definitely isn't a bad thing. I think it increased viewership, but I just wonder where they do it. And if they do go live, how long can they do that with the superstars that they have? And I am happy that they're not taking a break, but I would be concerned for the safety and health of everybody involved in that, because it is dangerous to travel right now, and so having these athletes travel to do live shows is kind of dangerous. Tonight's NXT has Johnny Gargano taking on Tommaso Ciampa, as I said earlier, and I hope that match is really good. Either way, I'm curious to see what happens to Johnny Gargano or Tommaso Ciampa, with one leaving. I'd assume one would go to Raw or SmackDown, but who knows how that's going to go. And then for the ladder match, I'm very excited to see what happens there. Who faces Charlotte, and who's the first one to get to face Charlotte for that NXT Women's Championship. I'm also excited to see what happens with the TNT Championship on AEW. Of course, those matches are starting this week here, and how everything with that kind of evolves into a bigger show. I like how they're taking it as TakeOver on the USA Network. Maybe for WWE, it'll increase viewership, but AEW keeping on going. Jake Hager versus John Moxley is going to be really good to see. And so both are delivering in these hard times, which is really cool because when all other sports are over, WWE, AEW, pro wrestling is still there to keep me occupied. So that's been everything for this week's episode, bonus episode of the Size Squad podcast. Make sure you're on the lookout for our mock NFL draft that we did this week. It will be released tomorrow or Thursday. Whenever you're listening to this, it was released on Thursday. If you're not listening to this today on Wednesday, a lot of surprises happening. It was fun to do, and I think it went really smoothly. Let us know on social media what you thought of our mock draft, where we went wrong, what you would have done differently. Just interact with us on social media at Size Squad Pod for all your social media needs during this boring time. If you're bored, one of us is probably bored. So we'd be happy to shoot messages back and forth. But for the Size Squad podcast, I'm Duncan, and this has been a bonus episode of the Size Squad podcast. Thanks for listening.